Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we will be going over the ultimate guide to cooking. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so cooking is one of those professions that a lot of people have been asking about recently. So therefore I've decided to make the ultimate guide series in which we go through a profession and we'll go more in depth than we usually would for this. Now to get started, we're going to need to learn cooking, so what you're going to be wanting to do is go learn Shadowlands cooking, and the location is in Oribos. What you'll be wanting to do is go to Chef Okura, and then his coordinates inside Oribos is 46.2 to 25.6. He will be located next to all of the other profession trainers, so you shouldn't have a hard time finding him. Now, when it comes towards leveling, you're going to need to max it out for Shadowlands. You're going to need an approximation of 60 times Lost Soul, along with 72 Shadowy Shank, along with 45 Aetherial Meat, along with 66 Raw Seraphic Wings, along with 15 Iridescent Amberjack and 18 Silver Gill Pike. The guide in which I'm actually pulling these numbers from is actually linked in the description down below, and there's an in-depth guide on how to level it and what to craft, on how to use all of those materials to max out your cooking. This should be relatively inexpensive as now prices have fluctuated down, and you shouldn't have that much of a problem overall. Link is at the top of the description if you so wish to level up your cooking. Providing that you've actually leveled your cooking, we're going to need to get into sourcing materials. Now, sourcing materials is a very simple process. I tend to lean towards the Undermine Journal, which is the underminejournal.com. Basically, this gives you an overview of all of the different types of materials and items within the game and what their values are currently, along with graphs to say when they've actually dipped during the week and when they haven't throughout. So what we'll be wanting to do is a very 4-step process, and that is step 1 is to actually go to the site and click on cooking. This will provide you with all of the Shadowlands meats and also all of the different crafts that you can do for cooking. Step 2 is to look at the mats used, so which mats are you going to be wanting to craft with, and then you can overview them. So you'll be wanting to click on one of those items and then see on the graph when they are the cheapest each week. There is usually a trend on when meats and also cooking materials in general, or most items, will actually dip in price during a certain week. What you're going to be looking for is when the actual price drops enough during each week, and that will be your sourcing day for sourcing all of your materials for that week. That's typically when the purchase prices will actually drop, and that's when you would want to actually buy your materials and stock up for the best possible value. And that brings us on to step number 4, which is purchase on those days for the best price for you, so you can increase your profit overall. Now, moving into current crafts. Now, these are different types of crafts. A lot of people do ask which ones should I be crafting, which ones should I avoid, and all that stuff. So I've comprised some very reliable ones in which they actually sell relatively well. These are current content ones, and what you'll be wanting to double down on is the feasts. The Feast of Gluttonous Hedonism, along with Surprisingly Palatable Feast. These feasts sell for a decent chunk of gold and also sell relatively fast, especially on raid nights. So whenever your market resets or the weekend happen, that's when you're probably going to be wanting to sell them the most. Moving on to different types of meals, there were 3 that stood out to me in the grand scheme of the region values. And that is Steak a la Mode, along with Tenebrous Crown Roast Aspic, along with Iridescent Ravioli with applesauce. These different types of meals sell relatively well in the grand scheme of things. They sell quite a lot of them, and they fetch a decent profit in the overall grand scheme. Now, moving over to Old World crafts, there are some Old World crafts that do still sell rather well, and this is no surprise right here. The best one for Old World crafts is definitely the Bear Tartar from Legion, and that is because it is used quite heavily when you're actually farming up Old World dungeons, and the buff comes in very handy when you want to speed run stuff overall. And the sell rate still, even today, hits a good value in the grand scheme of things. The other thing is Fighter Chow. This actually received a nerf in BFA, but it's still actually quite prominent when it comes towards buying out this on the auction house. So I'd produce maybe like 20 or 40 of these if you wanted to move into those in the future. When it comes to buffs, now, buffs are something that is very handy for a lot of different types of professions. In BFA, we had the Sphere of Transmutation, and that was an item in which it actually gave you a buff in order to increase your proc chances and a load of other different types of things. Now, for cooking, however, you will want to get one buff item, and that is called the Chef's Hat. This is a toy, and its location is in Ice Crown. What you're going to be wanting to do is go over in Ice Crown to coordinates 72.4 to 20.8 and go over to the vendor Mera Mist Runner. Now there is a requirement for this, and that is the Northrend cooking must be at 25. So this should be relatively inexpensive for you to even do, and this shouldn't take you all that long to actually sort out. The thing that will actually take you the most time is actually getting the currency for this vendor. This is 100 Epic Urian awards. Now these can be obtained only from the Dalaran Daily Cooking Quest, which is located within Dalaran. What you're going to be wanting to do is you'll be wanting to do that daily quest each and every day until you have 100 of those Epic Urian awards, and then go over to the vendor and buy the Chef's Hat toy. Upon using the Chef's Hat toy, it will produce a Chef's Hat upon your head, and it will slightly increase your cooking speed when you're crafting. This should be very handy in the grand scheme of things, and this should help you when you're crafting anything in the game. So overall, that is my ultimate guide to cooking in Shadowlands. If you want to find any of the TSM exports specifically for those different types of crafts, then the link to that is within the Discord, where you will actually find that TSM string. Other than that, have a lovely rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be soon. If you want to support the channel and help make the channel even better, then why not check out the Patreon? Members get additional info, gold making resources, and Patreon specific content. The link is located in the description down below. Thank you and have an awesome day.